Welcome, creatives, community, and kind folks to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and it is Tuesday, which means it's Level Up Advanced 5th Edition Tuesday, and we get to go through our last, excuse me, we get to go through our last class, which is the Wizard. And for those who have or are tuning into the channel to go over the classes, yeah, we're doing our last class, the Wizard, and in this series, and that means we can take about an hour to go over this class. There's going to be a lot of features and such, but because we're only going over one class instead of doing like doubling up, we'll have a little bit more time to take a look at it. And if we have some time at the end, we are absolutely going to take a look at spells, spell features, and maybe some of the other books if we have some time. And especially if you have any questions or comments or concerns, please leave them down in the chat. I do not mind. All right, so let us take our first look at the Wizard in Level Up Advanced 5th Edition. I will be referring to it as A5E, and original Dungeons and Dragons or original 5th Edition is O5E, if you are not familiar with the acronym. All right, so of course we've got the classic Wizard and many of the features. And again, we do know that in A5E that all the classes have these little knacks, these little things where you're able to pick from a list and customize your character's growth as you gain levels. It is not necessarily specific to a particular level, but as you gain these little knacks and features, you're able to customize your character based on the campaign or setting that you're in at your gaming table. And many times they are relegated to the big three: combat, social interactions, and exploration. And in terms of social interactions and exploration, level up level up A5E has really delved into it. I was one of the consultants and writers for the Trials and Treasures book, one of the three books, and we really took the exploration part of the game and multiplied it. Also, in Level Up 5th Edition, we have strife and fatigue. Strife is mental exhaustion, fatigue is physical exhaustion, and that has a much more impact in this game. It tends to make it this version of your 5th edition aside rule set is a little more lethal. You have to follow your resources a little bit more. And so it means that from level 1 to 20, there is still some danger and lethality. That's what the surveys said, and that's what people wanted. So a lot of these are little choices here. And so for the Wizard, getting to this point, under the Wizard table, we of course have our classic. To the left, we have our level, our proficiency bonus, what feature we get, and then we have studies known. And so each character class has like a nomenclature for what it is, whether they are studies or secrets or something like knacks, talents, whatever you. And for wizards, they're known as studies. Let's see. Let's move down a little bit. Of course, we have our class features, hit points at different levels. That's very classic proficiencies, classic weaponry that you're able to learn, like daggers, darts, slings, and quarterstaves. Tools such as like artisans' tools of your choice from either alchemists, calligraphy, or cartographers' tools. You have our saving throws for intelligence and wisdom, and then a couple of skills to pick from. Pretty classic and common. There's also equipment packages. Again, in A5E, the equipment packages are have been dismantled and then reassembled. So you have more choices, and then they are balanced by gold piece choice. So they're not all the exact same price. So more items are in with some groups, less items are in with others, and then they are balanced by cost. So you have an arcane investigator set, maybe a mage scholar set, a traveling mages set, etc. And of course, we have our classic spell books and how to prepare for spells and casting spells, and nothing's changed in that. Of course, we have our table for wizard spells and what level you get them, cantrips, etc. ritual casting, etc. Nothing in that has really changed. Now, here in, I'm sorry, let me go back to our first level features. Of course, there's arcane recovery and first level and wizard archetype. And of course, wizard archetypes come in towards the end of the character class features. Pretty common. Now, here's something that happens in all the classes in A5E, and it happens here. So, under scholarly excellence at third level, you have a particular set of skills that sets you a cut above a novice mage. Choose one of the following. And choice broadness is a huge hallmark of character creation in A5E. It means that when you gain a new feature at a particular level, for example, scholarly excellence at third level and signature spells at fifth level, um, spell study at seventh level, there may be a choice, and usually that choice is like 2 to 5, but 3 is the sweet spot because you can kind of bend towards combat, social interaction, or exploration based on the setting that you're in. So um, they really, really, really try to negate the optimal choice. One of the big questions in Level Up A5E has been like, what's the change? What's the big thing that has changed? And strangely enough, the biggest thing that has changed is optimization has nearly disappeared. And so it seems a little strange because I know a number of people who are fans of A5E or are looking for an option are looking for the one big thing, right? They're looking for like what's the best thing? What's the most popular thing? What's the and they've really gone out of their way to tell you like, nah, there really isn't one. You know, if fifth edition has told you that being a getting a T-Rex um feature as a druid to shape change is the thing, hey, you're not going to find that. If you think like smiting, over and over again is the big thing for the paladin here, the herald, it's not really the thing. It's not that they're not useful, and I know the word nerf has been passed around, but really it's you want to play how your group wants to play, and that's not the thing. So under scholarly excellence, let's get into it. You can pick academic, ritual efficiency, or rote memorization. I think there's another one down here. And then there's elective studies. So under academic, you've got a whole book of smarts. You gain 4 specialties from arcana, culture, engineering, history, nature, and religion. Unlike normal, academic specialties may be taken twice, increasing the specialty's expertise die to die 6. In addition, when you use either deception or persuasion to make a point related to an academic specialty, you gain expertise die from the specialty and use intelligence for your ability check. So, for those who don't know, expertise die. Expertise is something available to all player characters, and essentially it begins at a D4, and it adds to your skill check, and every feature that you gain of expertise stacks, and it increases or decreases the step or chain of dice. So if you have 2 features that give you, say, um, expertise in arcana or nature or religion, or the 2 new skills in here, which is culture and engineering, then you have a D6. If you have 3 forms of expertise, then it's a D8. So D4, D6, D8, D10, etc. And for the academic, you get 4 specialties. And a specialty is you, under each skill, there are specialties under that skill. So for example, under Arcana, maybe you are a specialty of aberrant monsters or ritual spell casting or um, necromancy or something like that. And then you gain that specialty gives you that expertise die, which will be a die 4. And you're able to take it twice, which might be a die 6, making you very intelligent. But that's just one choice. Or you could pick ritual efficiency. It's when you cast the spells of ritual, you only need 1 minute to cast to the casting time instead of 10 minutes. And then there's a choice of rote memorization. Choose one cantrip which has a casting time of 1 action and doesn't deal damage. You can cast that cantrip as a bonus action without any scene or material components a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. When you regain all expended uses of this feature, I'm sorry, you regain all expended uses of this feature when you finish a long rest and can switch the cantrip associated with this feature each time you gain a wizard level. Again, being able to switch the cantrip associated with the feature when you each time you gain a wizard level is another choice point. So maybe you, I don't know, no, not detect magic. What's a good one? The light spell, and then you go to sorry, you would gain this at third level. So at fourth level, you go, well, I don't really need the light spell. Everyone's got dark vision, yada yada yada. I need to pick something else, and you're like, floating disc. How about that one? And then you can just pop that out whenever you like. And then at fourth level, there's elective studies and also an ASI ability score improvement. At fourth level, your study of magic has uncovered unique ways to explore the world. At fourth level, you gain one elective study of your choice. Elective studies are detailed at the end of the class description. That's what I was telling you about the studies feature, which are these small little um, uh, traits that your wizard can pick as you gain levels, and it begins at fourth level. The studies known column of the wizard's table shows when you learn more elective studies. Unless otherwise noted, you gain each study only once. Let's get back. Let's see if there's anyone seeing the chat. All right. Um, At fifth level, there we go. At fifth level, you have developed. This is for signature spells you gain at fifth level. At fifth level, you have developed your spell casting skill and honed it into spells that you consider to be your signature spells. Choose one first level wizard spell that is in your spell book. You always have the spell prepared. It doesn't count towards your maximum prepared spells, and you cast the spell at its lowest level without expending a spell slot. Once you have cast a signature spell in this way, you must finish a short or long rest before you can do so again. At higher levels, you gain additional signature spells. So you gain another one at 11th level, 17th level, and of course, their higher level spell. Each time you gain a level in this class, you can replace one of your signature spells with another of the same level. So again, another choice point when you gain a level, and then the signature spell is basically like your easiest. That's what you're known for. It's your easy spell. Uh, Under spell study at seventh level, you learn to hone your magic and spells to new power levels thanks to your dedicated studies. Choose one spell study that reflects what you have dedicated your arcane studies to. And here we go with the choice point at seventh level. You can pick arcane objects, excuse me, detective spell study, or fauna and flora. It's funny that it's the opposite way. But anyway, so one of your choices would be arcane objects. When you touch a magic item, either willingly or when hit by it, you are immediately aware that it's magical. If you hold such an item in your hand, you can cast Identify on it as an action without spending a spell slot, even if you don't have the spell prepared. In addition, when you cast Identify using a spell slot or as a ritual, you also learn if the item is cursed, and the narrator will give you a hint as to the curse's effects, which may be cryptic and vague, but must not be a lie. And so, again, arcane objects and uh, talking about choice points. If if in your gaming group the use of the identify spell and sitting with a magic item to find and attuning with it and all that, if you hand wave that, then this isn't a choice point for you. There's another choice depending on how you handle things in your setting, in your with your gaming group, and that's why that exists. So that it is a choice, but it doesn't have to be your choice. There's also detective spell study, which is you are adept at sensing magic and its effects. If there are active magical effects near you, such as a spell effect on an object or a spell effect in an area, you automatically sense its presence. You don't know what spell effects there are or where they are, but you automatically sense the effect of magic in a 20-foot radius around you. In addition, you have honed your detection spells. Add detect magic and detect thoughts to your spell book if they weren't already there. Whenever you cast Detect Magic, the range that you can sense magic is increased to 60 feet. Whenever you cast Detect Thoughts, the range of creatures that you can read thoughts from is increased to 60 feet. And that's kind of a cool little bonus, little bump up there. All right. Let's see if there's anyone speaking anything in the chat. All right. Let's see. Going back to our co-hosts here. All right. And lastly, there's a fauna and flora. Your research into plants, wildlife, and the natural workings of magic grants you superior insights into the magic of living creatures and flora. When a plant or beast makes a saving throw against a spell that you cast, it makes the saving throw with disadvantage. And so that's so that you don't have to, there's a subtle link between druidic magic and wizardly magic. And so if you want to play more of a naturalistic wizard, this would be the way to do it. And then at ninth level, there's Wizard's Flare. At ninth level, you create a flare that you can use when casting spells. Choose a flare from the options below. When you finish a long rest, you may replace your flare with another. Again, a choice point. Whenever you cast a spell of first level or higher, you can choose to cast it with your flare. You can do so again when you finish a short or long rest. And we have Awe and Wonder as a choice, Terror, Brilliance, or Warding as your flare. So under All in Wonder, choose one creature affected by the spell. If it must succeed a Wisdom saving throw or be charmed by you until the end of its next turn. While charmed in this way, it is incapacitated, has a movement of 0, and does nothing but stare blankly at the dazzling effects of your magic. If it takes damage or is forced to make another saving throw, the charm effect ends. So yeah. So you're able to add that to your spells. Or you could choose Terror. Terror. I apologize for that. Choose one creature within 30 feet that you can see when you cast the spell. It must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or become frightened of you until the end of its next turn. While frightened in this way, it starts its turn by using its full movement to get away from you in the most direct manner possible, avoiding obvious hazards along the way. Then we also have Brilliance and Warding. Under Brilliance, choose one creature within 30 feet that can see you when you cast the spell. It must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or be blinded until the end of its next turn. And lastly, we have Warding as a choice. After casting the spell until the start of your next turn, a creature who attempts to attack you must make a Wisdom saving throw. On a failure, it must choose a new target or waste its attack. So that's under Wizard's Flare. So it's when you cast a spell, you have this other effect that happens with you. And of course, you can describe this based on the type of wizard you are and the choices in your world and kind of, flavor your wizard. And this gives you a mechanical feature to that as well. Under Bestow Magics, we have at 13th level, your understanding of magics is so thorough that you can even grant it to others. You can spend 1 minute touching a willing creature and concentrating, spending a spell slot of third level or lower. When you do, choose a spell you have prepared for that level or lower. The creature can cast the spell using the slot you expended, following its normal rules for casting time, spell components, range, and concentration, but using your spellcasting ability modifier, spell attack modifier, and spell save DC. You can only have one spell imbued at a time, and if you bestow a spell upon a different creature, the previous spell dissipates, its magic unspent, and the spell slot used to imbue it expended. So at 13th level, essentially, you can give somebody else one of your own spells. So if you have a martial character in your party, maybe they are trying to protect you, you can cast a spell on them. Of course, a common one would be some defensive spells like shield, or what have you, or maybe you'd like to give them some mobility spells like Misty Step or Flight or something like that. Or heck, the martial character steps in front of a bunch of people and is able to cast a fireball or something because you've bestowed that magic on them. At 15th level, you can pick arcane defenses. At 15th level, your training has granted you certain protections against magic. Choose one of the following. We get with a choice point for arcane defenses. And we have mental discipline, um, mystic mantle, and superior counter magic. And as we go to higher levels, with such as like mental discipline, your mind is shield from intrusion. When you fail in intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw, you can choose to succeed instead. Yeah, under Mystic Mantle, magic layers upon you into a defensive ward that you've extended to even protect your allies. You and creatures within 10 feet of you have resistance to the damage of spells, which is awesome. And a superior counter magic, when you make an ability check as part of your casting counter spell or dispel magic, you add your proficiency bonus to the roll. In addition, when you cast one of these spells, treat the spell slot level of the spell as one level higher than the actual spell slot you spent. The slot you use to cast a spell must still be at least third level. It goes on and on. Let's see if anybody's in the chat. Nope. Okay. Under at 18th level, you get spell intensity. You gain new ways to intensify the power of your spells, sometimes at cost to yourself. Choose one of the following features, which can be used to augment your wizard spells of 5th level or lower. You must choose whether or not to augment the spell when you declare you're casting it before any rolls are made. And then, so we have oh, the first time you use this feature to augment a spell, you suffer no adverse effect. If you use this feature again after finishing a long rest, your current and maximum hit points are both reduced by 1d12 per level of the spell augmented. Cantrips count as first level spells for this purpose. This reduction lasts until you finish a long rest. So essentially, every time you use this 18th level ability for spell intensity, uh, yeah, it starts to drain you 1d12 per level. So you have a binding, burn, uh, chain, duality, and overchannel. So under binding, after you have affected a creature with a spell that has a duration, uh, and it's able to end the spell's effect on itself with a successful saving throw, it must succeed on that saving throw twice to end the effect. Under burn, any creature that takes damage from the spell takes that damage again at the start of your next turn, unless a dispel magic spell of any level is cast on it before then, or it's in an anti-magic field at the time. Burn, double damage, basically. At least, uh, unless it's able to get out of it. This is 18th level, so if you're fighting like outer worldly creatures, they're probably going to know what that is. Under chain as a choice, when you cast a spell that normally only targets a single creature, it can also target up to 2 more creatures within 15 feet. There's duality. When you cast a spell that requires concentration, while already concentrating on another spell, you can maintain concentration on both spells simultaneously. And then there's overchannel. When you would roll damage for spell, you instead deal maximum damage with that spell. And again, the spell intensity, when you use it the first time, there's no adverse effects. If you use the feature again before finishing a long rest, it will drain you of your maximum hit points by 1d12 per level of the spell augmented, and such. And that's pretty cool. Let's see if there's any. There we go. At 19th level, you have Swift feature. At 19th level, you're especially efficient with your signature spells. Again, a choice picked earlier in your wizardly advancement. When you cast a spell that has a casting time of 1 action using your signature spell feature, you cast it as a bonus action instead. And then we have here the Archmage at 20th level, or Archmage, depending on how you pronounce it. You have achieved a rare level of achievement and prestige, gaining the following features. You have Mage Sight. Your eyes become attuned to the supernatural. You cannot be blinded, and you can see normally in darkness, both magical and non-magical, to a distance of 120 feet. When you see a creature use spellcasting, when you can see a creature use spellcasting to cast a spell, you instinctively know what spell is being cast before the casting is complete. This does not tell you what level spell slot is being used. You also gain True Magician. When you have a first level wizard spell prepared, you are able to cast it as a first level spell without expending a spell slot. And that is it. At the top level is Archmage. And then we have elective studies. And remember, in the beginning, the elective studies, you earn one of these at 4th level, and you can pick these in any. There might be some gating, there might be some prerequisites, but essentially, you get to pick these based on the level that you get to achieve another one. And when you choose one, of course, this is this is a choice point, right? So beginning at 4th level, you get to decide what kind of wizard you're going to be. And again, every class has these like small, they're not very powerful, but they're like flavorful and mechanical features to flavor your character. So under elective studies, we have like airlift, such as you can use an action to increase your vertical jump distance to 15 feet. There's Detect Magic Savant, which is a prerequisite. You're able to cast Detect Magic. There's Eidetic Memory. Your memory is nearly perfect. You can accurately recall anything you've read or seen in the past month. Additionally, when retreading a travel route you've traveled in the past month, you have advantage on ability checks made against environmental hazards on that route, unless the landscape has been significantly altered in that time. Again, very exploration related, right? There's the illusion detective, but there's a prerequisite of having at least one illusion spell in your spell book. You'll see these prerequisites sometimes. Lord Master of Creatures, Lord Master of Travel, Persistent Mending. Of course, you have to have the ability to cast Mending. Presto, Prestidigitation. Makes it a little bit more powerful. And so you can pick those at different um, levels of your character advancement. And then, of course, we have our wizard archetypes. We have the Arcanist. These wizards embody the traditional ideals of a wit of excuse me. These wizards embody the traditional ideals of a mage studying the 8 classical schools of magic and their methods. They usually come to their magics by way of a mentor or schooling where they've learned the arcane arts from a pragmatic historical lens. And then you have your various choices. There's also the mage, which is dabbling in all schools of magic. Mages are generalist wizards. Their training is often less formal than arcanists, but still involves a lot of research and study to master. Despite their non standard education, mages don't suffer in their command of magical secrets. And then we have the pyromancer. Um, the wizard, most classically associated with war, pyromancers can manipulate powerful conflagrations against their foes. Despite its roots in battle, however, these mages are often far more complex than many expect. Much like how fire destroys but also gives warmth, pyromancers tend to be highly spiritual and understand the cycle of creation and destruction more intimately than any other wizard. And then you have your choices thereof. And then, of course, all of the wizards' spell lists. And see, we can't forget. We'll take a look at this again. I think this is there. We go. All right, and we definitely positively cannot ignore the fact that hey there, looking at your chat. We can't ignore the fact that um, Level Up Advanced Fifth Edition has doubled down on something known as rare spells. Let's Here we go. We have acids right above my head. Um, Acid Arrow and Airwave. Let's go with Airwave right here. There we go. I'll say on the right above my head here, we have a spell, first level spell called Airwave. And below the spell, and I would say about 30 to 40% of the spells in A5E are like this, there is a rare spell called uh, Oranon's Rapid Airwave. And the rare spell usually has some modification to the original spell. You cannot pick a rare spell upon character creation. You can only find them in the wild. And so this gives an incentive for wizards and spellcasters to go out and adventure, and also tells the narrator that, hey, listen, if you want to reward your wizards and not just start handing out magic items and other features, here's a way to reward them by finding a rare spell. So under Airwave, the rare version of this is if you have the extra attack feature, you may make 2 melee weapon attacks against the target. And so, which means that under the Airwave spell, your deft weapon swing sends a wave of cutting air to assault a creature within range. The rare version says that if you have extra attacks, you can use the spell twice, basically turning your spell into a weapon. And there are a number of these rare spells, like there's a rare version of Animal Friendship, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a number of casting at higher level modifiers to spells. Let's Animal Shapes. There's a rare version of that. Is Animate Dead. There's a rare version of that as well, and so on and so forth, all the way through all the spells. Let me get into the chat. Actually, let me get to. Let's stop here with some imagery. Hey, let's get in the chat. Hey, the End King said, the King of North arises. Great seeing you. Well, good to see you too. And yeah, my internet went down yesterday, and I mean, it died. It wasn't like, oh, it's a little bit of a blurb now. It it just went out. I just before I had to go to work, it came back up again. But yeah, I paid for high speed. That's what I hate it sometimes. All right, let's. You know what? I'm going to show you something, you guys, something. Let's go to A5E dot tools and let me share this with you, and navigate. Let's see if I can. Let's stop sharing that. Mm-mm-mm. Let's share this instead. Sorry about this, because I hadn't even thought about doing this, but I think I'm going to do it right now. All right, so I'm at a actually, let me copy this and put this into the chat so that if somebody wants to see it and they catch this later, they can do that. Well, sorry about the clickety clack, little AMSR, ASMR. Sorry. So here we are it's still in beta, which I find kind of hilarious because it's like there's nearly everything is loaded up in here. But I want to show you something concerning wizards and classification of spells, and this this part of it is optional for your setting, but it if you think about it, it has many great implications if you allow it to happen. So I'm on the open page of A5E.tools, and this is the digital version of digital assets if you want to play Level Up 5th Edition, and you can pull this up on your phone or your laptop or what have you. But we're going to go over the spells, and we have all the spells listed here. I'm just going to click spells in general. We're going to find that, and you can search for and uh, classify all the spells. Now, under the spell schools, we have things that we remember from 5th edition: necromancy, abjuration, enchantment, etc. But there are also other spell classifications, and within A5E, such as sound, time, acid, arcane, weaponry, protection, scrying, movement, utility spells. There, uh, their gate you can classify them with elemental abilities like shape changing or beasts or necrotic, um, transformation. If you notice, there's a separation between necrotic and undead spells, transformation spells, etc., radiant spells. And the reason why it's important to have those classifications is that not only can you uh, search for spells by spell level, class, school, and such. If you want to shape your world or have choices or gated choices for your players and such, you can do that. So, for example, let's pick a spell school. Let's go with cold. Okay. Let's say um, let's say there is a monster or whatnot. Let's apply this spells here. Let's say there's a monster up in the cold region of your world, and you say there's a wizard, a master wizard, maybe a lich or something. Um, but they only have access to spells that are related to cold. Instead of having to cherry pick through the spells, you can just say, hey, here are all the cold spells. Maybe there is a player character choice, and you say, hey, listen, in my world, these are the spell schools. They're not listed by necromancy and illusion. They're listed by elemental features or time or space or something like that. For example, let's go with displacement. Let's go with law, right? And let me reset this to get that, and let's go with law. So there's a place that is a totalitarian government, and this is what the magic individuals there use, and these are their spells. And so therefore you have them classified. Maybe with your um uh, to limit the effects of counter magic in your game, or maybe there are certain types of warding spells, but they have, because you think they're more powerful, or maybe this is just flavor. They only protect certain types of wards only protect a certain school of magic. So we have the classic schools, and then we have spell schools. So maybe um, there's wards against planar creatures. You click planar creatures. There we go. These are spells related to planar creatures. And I think this is kind of cool. Maybe there's a magic item. Maybe a player gains a certain type of ability. You're like, you know what? I think you earned something. Maybe you have um, protection against um, sound. I don't know. And so, any sound spell, here's a list of sound spells. Any sound spell, you have um, an expertise die gained on your saving throw against spells related to sound, because you've learned. I don't know. As a wizard, you've learned from the greatest musician of ever, or the flying the decadent queen of the harpies, or something like that. And you're just like, why wouldn't a bard learn that? Well, maybe the bard did learn it as well. But then, so yeah, let's reset this. So there are ways um, to divvy up, figure out, and corral the spells, and do this very quickly to end up picking them out. Let me get back into the chat. Yeah, what's going on? The N King says that's really cool. So a crafty GM could just make their own schools from the ground up. Absolutely. And so instead of doing the classic, eh, here's another thing. Even for new players, describing what is the classic 8 schools. Let me see if I can find them here. Classic 8 schools: abjuration, conjuration, divination, etc. Right? They make sense, but sometimes they don't, because like abjuration itself is protection, but maybe it isn't, right? But displacement might be slightly different than, say, where's protection here? Then obscurement, which is different than protection, which is different than, say, what's another one? Uh, I don't know, utility or whatever, right? So um, maybe different types of conjuration spells come from different lands in your world. So like displacer yeah, is it displacer beast? Oops, I hit, sorry. Let's reset this. I hit conjuration and displacement at the same time, which is not going to get you much. Displacement spells, we're going to apply this, and we're going to say the land in your world where displacer beasts come from. There are no displacement spells? Displacement, apply. Ooh, I guess it is in beta. Wow, I didn't think I'd find something like that. Okay, let's go with communication. Communication, apply. Or did I just block myself? There we go. Communication spells. I apologize. I had to find a good example, and I'm gonna let them know. So under communication spells, maybe there's a land where they have a vast part of communication, like with crystal balls and a whole 9 yards. And this nation, because of their communication, they're extremely efficient and whatnot. And the player characters arrive in this place. And so maybe just general NPCs might have access to one or more of these spell like abilities just because they come from this place. Maybe city guards have, you know, speak with dead to investigate, the murders that might be around the player characters, or out in the wilderness, uh, just general, maybe there's elders or something that speak with plants or tongues. When law enforcement uses zone of truth in this region, now they may not have ability, maybe they have great access to this, making them formidable when it comes to these communication spells, but maybe they really don't have access to anything else. Or maybe and this could be part of your history of your world. um, Maybe the royal families and rich merchants have auguries and divination casts every single day on the important and the rich, because they want to know, am I going to die today? Cast a spell, right? um, it- um, Business wise, will I make a profit today? Divination. Yes. Yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, you will. Okay. send an animal messenger and tell them to double the I don't know, investments or something like that, right? Like there's a lot of story you can tell just by gating a lot of the spells behind whatever kind of spell school there is, and also putting some guardrails on your player characters. Well, the End King says protection from sound spells doesn't sound so far fetched. If a character is deaf, for example, yeah, or maybe they come from a place of pure silence. They don't they don't know that their spells are very loud because everyone there might be deaf or deafened based on where they live and stuff. Wait, where did they place the displacement spells? Maybe they were there all along. I just couldn't see them. Yeah. Boom, boom. Right. So anyway, I did want to point that out. Let's reset this table here. Let's get into a couple of the spells. Let's pick something. Let's pick Acid Arrow. So I'm going to click it here on Acid Arrow. It takes us to the spell. It gives us all the things that we need. There's hyperlinks to, Sorcerer, Wizard, Evocation, Acid, Arcane, second level spells, the ranges, the components, and such. So there's some hyperlinks in here as well. And we have our rare versions right below it. So it tells you Creven's Insidious Acid Arrow and uh, Gobbles or Gabal's Blinding Acid Arrow and the source where it's from. Mm-mm-mm. Of course, there's the main site here. There's the open beta tool set. It's a work in progress. Content's constantly being tweaked. And the open game content notice available to download. Now, the tool set is not the A5E SRD, should not be used as a reference. No, it isn't. You can actually go to the download and you get the PDF of the whole thing. So if you'd like to write for and make materials for Level Up A5E, you most certainly can. You most certainly can. So anyway, let's go back to oh, let's go back one. Boop, boop, boop. Hopefully I'm still sharing this. Yep. So here's another spell. I'm trying to think of a complicated spell. I can't think of one off the top of my head because I'm looking at a bunch of spells here that might be change black tentacles. Let's go to black tentacles. Also, if a player wants to if a player is playing a spellcaster and you allow digital tools to be available, or you're playing online, they could pull up the A5E tools and have instant access to the spells that they have. And heck, even if they want to be able to share screen as well, they can go in and go, oh, okay, here's the spell, here's my spell book. I've got my A5E tools up with my spells that are here. Quickly click them, boom, 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 do a thing, right? So kind of cool. Let's go back home. So that's Level Up Advanced 5th Edition. It's open beta. It'll continue to be open beta for quite a while, honestly, because N World and the people that are part of Level Up were actually contractors. We were freelancers, so this is being put together by individuals. They don't have a huge full-time staff to do this. So little by little, as long as you contact them, which I'm probably going to contact them about the displacement spells, unless they're being cheeky in terms of doing it. Yeah, there isn't a errata list where you can go there and point that out, but but yeah, it is kind of funny. Oh, here are all the books, and let's see. The first one is the Adventurer's Guide. There's the um, World Builder's Manual, Monsters Menagerie is a monster book. Mythological Figures is a book of real real world mythology and literary figures given stats, and then where's the Trials and Treasures? I don't see it. Memories of Holdenshire's The Adventure. Adventures in Zeitgeist is their 5th edition. A5E version of a long-standing setting that I also have. I don't see the Trials and Treasures book. I guess they didn't put it up there. Okay. I thought it would be there. You said the range. I missed that. Okay. The range being medium is really interesting to me. That really speeds things up, I bet. All right. So let me go back to what you mentioned here. You said range being medium. Um, what spell was that? Acid arrow? Did that say? Oh, okay, okay, okay. So, um, under acid arrow, you have long 120 feet. If we go to, let's go back one. I think I picked black tentacles or something. Bark skin, black tentacles. Click this. Medium, 60 feet. Yes, 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 yes. So, um, to facilitate some theater of the mind business. Hey, are you at short range, medium range, or long range? In theater of the mind, and if you're not using any like you're not using a battle map or VTT or something like that, it is meant to speed that up. So yeah, hey, what range are you at? Medium range. Okay, 60 feet. Great. We kind of know ish where you're at, like how far away you are. If you're firing a weapon, and so you want to cast black tentacles and it has a range of medium feet. Wow. You're casting black tentacle spell and your range is medium, but you're at long range, you know you won't be able to reach them. Although you could default and say, "Oh man, all right, I'll cast black tentacles in between myself and my adversary, filling the space at medium feet." I mean, me, here I go again. Medium range. I'm looking at the feet at the end of the thing. Sorry about that, but yes, that is what it is. Also, you could do things like let's go with V for verbal. Um Clicking it again, this is, in beta, but clicking it, these are spells that have a verbal component to them. So, if you want to make a let's see if we can go back to spells here. Can you search for it by that? Oh, show me more options. So, there we go. I know there we go. If you want to narrow down the spells, the type, which spell, what can do it. So you have casting times, duration, range, spell components. V for vocalize, S for scene, M for material. You can put that. So let's go with vocalize spells only and apply. So if you just want to have a person who, I know we're talking about wizards, but maybe you have someone who speaks forth their power. I mean, they have a spell book, but they really don't use. They have their hands behind their back, or maybe their hands are not usable. You don't want them carrying around material components. These are all spells that are only verbal. Mm-mm. So, yep. Let's reset this. So yes, you can pick spells. Maybe the player characters are captured, and the player's like, "Man, which one of my spells are the only ones I can vocalize since I don't have my then since the guards took my material components and I don't want them. My hands are locked behind my back or something, so I can't wave my hands around." Then you boom click that. Of course, we have the how long it takes to cast the spells. We have our range, short, medium, long, unlimited, special ranges, and of course durations. The End King says, I've played with so many wizards who constantly backtrack their spell idea when they discover the range we're at. Yeah, no need to apologize. Oh, yeah, yeah, I didn't. Sorry about that. The software that I'm using does allows me to combine the chats from both YouTube and Twitch, which is great. But the limitation is I can't pop out the chat because normally I used to have the chats popped out, and I used to have both of them popped out, and I just had them layered over what I'm watching. But when I switch back and forth between me, you know, setting my screen, it doesn't let me do that. I'm trying to. There's something else I'm trying to think of. My brain is stopping me. Um, for spellcasters and wizards and things, and I can't think of it. And it's bothering me so much because it's going to come to me once I end the stream. It'll be like, oh, that's what I meant. Um, uh, let's talk again. Let me go to the acid arrow, and I want to talk again about rare spells. And just bring this up. Okay, so of course, as any creator, you do not need to have these rare spells available at all. But there was a the surveys from the people that wanted to see this Kickstarter go through really wanted something special for wizards and spellcasters in general, especially wizards. And so the reason for putting these rare versions of them not only just gives the spellcasters a reason to go out and adventure and make them feel special, but this also means the rare version of these spells means that the other spells are not as rare, if you understand what I'm saying. So the player characters may be able to find the individuals that create these spells, or those people could be past, or they've moved on, or went to other dimensions and planes of existence, or whatever, right? So, and there's also the subtle element of trying to teach the narrator to say, hey, guess what? You can make up your own rare spells. It maybe the player characters themselves create their own rare spell version, and their name goes in place of, instead of Krevin's Insidious Arrow, Acid Arrow, maybe the player character puts their name, and that becomes the rare version. Or maybe in your world, when the player, how you describe the spell describes its commonality and rarity. So maybe every acid arrow spell ever cast in your setting looks pretty much the same, except for these. Maybe it's like acid arrow looks green and it splashes the acid, but in these, in Krevin's Insidious Acid Arrow, it's like blackened and literally looks like an arrow. Maybe even when casting a spell, it looks like you're pulling back a bow to shoot the arrow in the first place, and then the arrow hits and splashes and little drops of black acid to shoot around, and the PCs are like, what is that an acid arrow spell? I thought also all of ours was green or something, or whatever. Or maybe Krevin's has Krevin's face on the front of the arrow, so it's not a pointed arrow, but there's like a face on the end with a mouth screaming in the air. I don't know. But again, it also lends itself to the story. Where did the spell come from? How did they get it? When they find the spell, how did they find it? Did they find it because an enemy was using it? Was it in a scroll? Did they find it in an old uh, decrepit crypt or something? And if they got that spell out of there, are there other schools that know that person got the spell? Are there hunters looking for people who know and are hunting people who have that spell ability, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So when I say gated, I don't mean that they can't get access to it. What I mean is maybe they need to go through the treacherous valley to get to the place where these things are being used. So that's what I mean by that. So, but anyway, thank you very much for those who have been part of the show. Let me go back to the homepage here. Again today, oof, today. Oh, let me go to characters. Here we go. Adventuring classes. We're going to go to wizard. Go down to the wizard. Click wizard. You need to find out what they are about. You have all of the wizard archetypes here. Arcanist, Court Magician. These are from other supplements from A5E, the Ooze Master, etc. Creating your wizard. All of the features. Spell casting. All the details here. Mm-mm. All the traits and hyperlinked abilities, so that when you find these features in under A5E.tools, you can just scale up and down, so you have everything at your fingertips. It's kind of cool. So here under for example, one of the scholarly studies, there's a lore master of travel, and you have advantage on history checks. Of course, advantage is hyperlinked. The narrator will give you a useful fact about that subject. You can take an expertise die on ability checks related to that subject in this settlement. And of course, what is an expertise die? You can click that. It tells you what that is and such. And of course, you go to the Adventurer's Guide, and it tells you all you need to know about the Adventurer's Guide. Let's go back to character classes and go back to the wizard, and we're going to get out of here. So thank you very much for being part of the show. Thank you there, the End King. No, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Um, I'm not very good at being a talking head, so I really appreciate a co-host helping me out here. So I really thank you for that. Yeah, the system's pretty cool. Again, check not just me, but check out other people's reviews of Level Up Advanced Fifth Edition. Of course, go over to N World to take part in any chats about it. Go over to Level Up. Level Up. There we go. Level Up A5E. Share this tab instead. This is the homepage of levelup5e.com. And there's a lot of links here. You can, of course, buy it, the latest news, releases. There's a new, you can download the introduction to Save a Kingdom, is the first, I don't know what you call, like, hot, multi-leveled adventure path and such. Yep, it's live on Kickstarter. Continuing quest. Vampiric Dire Bear. Ouch. Let's see if we can get this whole image up here. The War Mage. All right. Thank you so much. I got to get out of here. You guys have a great day. Tomorrow, we're going to get back into languages. That was my whole purpose, to get back into languages. The maybe I'll do a restream of Monday, and I've got some other ideas here. It might be a little complicated, but we'll take a look at it. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Have a great day and happy gaming. Peace.